Hello everyone, I'm your host Walt Schamel with the Florida Aviation Network. We're broadcasting live from the Aerospace Discovery section of the Florida Air Museum located in the Sun and Fun Complex in Lakeland, Florida. Our guest today is Matt Younkin. Welcome, Matt.
Well, thank you, Walt. It's great to be here.
I understand that you fly a Beech 18 a little bit, day and night, with some other activities. Tell us about it.
Well, I'm one of your air show performers, and I've got a 1943 Twin Beech 18 that we do an aerobatic demonstration with. It's the only Beech 18 in the world that's capable of aerobatic flight, at least legally. And I actually premiered this show, or my version of this show that my dad made famous back in the early 90s. I premiered my version in 2007 right here at Sun and Fun, and have been doing it ever since. And in 2008 we actually upped the ante a little bit and put a bunch of lights on it and started doing the aerobatic stuff at night. And tonight we'll recreate what we pioneered here back then.
On your night show, what do you do different at the night versus the day show?
Well, the night show is very strictly choreographed to a powerful soundtrack, Phantom of the Opera type music, and I actually have a whole bunch of lights and a whole bunch of toggle switches that control them, and I'll be in there upside down turning these switches on and off to make the airplane look different as the music builds and fades away. It's very powerful and in your face, whereas the day show is more of a kind of a lighthearted, graceful display. So there's really a big contrast between the two.
So I guess you've confirmed what the public really believes pilots do. They just flip switches.
Well, there's a lot of truth to that. We actually, I saw my first night air show when I was a little kid, and I believe it was Gene Soucy was one of the performers, and he had lights on the smoke and pyrotechnics and all that. And I thought, man, that was neat. And of course, when I started doing air shows after my dad passed in 2005, my ultimate goal was to bring back his Twin Beech act that made him famous. After that, my crew chief, Jeff Gibbs, and I were looking at the airplane and thought, if all the lights this airplane left the factory with still worked, we'd be well on our way to having a night display. And the more we talked, the more we pondered and started thinking, well, if we put lights here that shine on this and lights here that will reflect that, it'd be something quite unique. And the airplane is actually a contrast in itself. The top of it glows. It actually looks like a Twin Beech because we light the wings and the tail up and put lights in the engines to give it very much plan form definition, but the bottom of it just twinkles. So when the airplane's right side up or upside down at night, you can definitely tell the difference.
When the airplane was originally built, how many people could it carry?
Well, they were configured differently. Some of the later ones carried up to 8 people in the back, plus the 2 pilots. My airplane actually left the factory as a Army Air Corps AT-7 navigation trainer. So it would have had 3 students in the back and an instructor, plus the pilot and co-pilot. It spent its career at Ellington Army Airfield in Houston, Texas, training our guys to go off and take care of business for our country. But they also used Twin Beeches during the war effort for multi-engine transition training, gunnery training, and bombardier training, and VIP transport. So if you were going to hone your skill set in a bomber like a B-17 or a B-29, you would have learned whatever it was that you were was going to be your part of the mission in a Twin Beech, just like mine.
When your dad started flying the Beech 18, and you said he was doing a night show also, I suspect today you're using mostly LEDs.
Well, that's true. My dad never did a night show. He was actually an on-demand freight operator, and he after staying up for several nights in a row, got this crazy idea in his head about doing aerobatics at a Twin Beach. And he said it was one of those you just couldn't sleep off. He'd wake up the next morning and it still seemed like a good idea. And that's how he started it, and he pioneered the daytime Twin Beach demonstration. And like I said, after he passed, I brought his demonstration back, or his sequence back, as best I could, and made it very much a tribute. And the night air show stuff was something that Jeff and I came up with after the fact. As far as the lights are concerned, we actually have 50 externally visible lights on this airplane, if you don't count the individual LED bulbs. We have LEDs from Whelan, and also some halogens that are theirs. We also have some HID or boom beam lights from Lopresti Aviation. So we have 4 lights that shine on the smoke. Those are all halogens. I think we've got 13 strobes on the bottom of the airplane. Those are Whelans. Our beacons and nav lights are LEDs. And the lights that light up the airframe and face forward are all HIDs. So we've got quite a mixture of everything.
Sounds like you probably have the safest VFR night airplane in existence.
That's true. When we're going cross country and somebody calls traffic on center, all I have to do is turn a couple switches on and they can find me very easily.
Well, how long have you been flying the Beech 18?
Well, I started flying it in 2006. Like I said, I debuted my performance in it right here at Summit Fun in 2007. And I've got about 1,200 hours in that particular Twin Beach, and a couple hundred and some other ones. So it's really a sweetheart to fly. It's a very honest airplane, and there's a little bit of a learning curve to doing aerobatics in it initially, but once you've got that, it's pretty similar every day of the week.
I always like the sound of those radial engines. And I learned a long time ago when I was a student pilot that the purpose of an engine was to change money to noise, and they sure do a nice job of that.
Well, that's a fact. These airplanes, these engines are very thirsty. A lot of money into a lot of noise very quickly. They burn 22 gallons an hour at cruise, but during my air show performance, I'll actually burn 25 gallons in 12 minutes between the two engines. But more ironic than that is we burn 35 gallons of smoke oil. So for those that haven't seen this airplane perform, I mean, it smokes like a locomotive. It's really something. A lot of smoke and a lot of noise.
Well, that's what makes it interesting, and particularly, as you mentioned, that you've got rear-facing lights so that lights up the smoke trail at night. And I've seen your show, and it's really spectacular.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's different, that's what we strive for, and anyway, I believe we've accomplished that.
So you think you'll stay in the Beech 18 for a few more years?
I believe so. It's a great way to get to and from an air show. A lot of the high-performance aerobatic pilots, they'll bring their monoplane, but they'll also bring a Bonanza or something similar as a chase plane to bring their crew and their spare parts and all that. Well, we've got our aerobatic mount and chase plane all wrapped up into one. So we bring everything with us, including the kitchen sink. And anyway, we've got incredible range and a full IFR panel and autopilot. So getting back and forth from home to an air show is really a good way to travel.
Sound like a lot of fun. What do you do in your spare time? What other airplanes do you fly?
Well, this is really the only one I'm air showing at this point, but I'm a CFI and CFII and all that, and so I do a little bit of flight instruction. I've done some aerobatic instruction, multi-engine transition stuff, and I volunteer with the Commemorative Air Force, and I've been privileged enough to fly around in their B-29 some. That's an incredible experience, but there's a lot of upkeep on this airplane and a lot of, calling and, taking care of the sponsor stuff and booking the shows. I've got a lady that helps me with that now, but, being a full-time air show pilot can be a full-time job.
It takes a staff to keep ahead of the airplane. And this airplane will do, what, 160 knots in cruise?
Yeah, that's about right. Exactly.
Cover a lot of territory in a hurry. So where's your next show?
I go home for a couple of weeks, and then I'll be in Dallas, Georgia, for a Salute to Veterans show down there.
Have you got your passport and all that sort of thing, your shot record up to date to get into Georgia?
Well, I think we've got all that covered. Georgia's not that bad. You know, we've done several shows in there. A lot of nice people that live there. But, we've actually done quite a few international shows with this airplane. We've been as far south as Panama and, you know, clear up to Vancouver with it. So it's we've been all over the place.
Well, there used to be a sign on I-35 going from Dallas into Oklahoma City that said, "Welcome to Oklahoma, set your watch back 100 years." So for those who may be 100 years out of date, where is Dallas, Georgia?
I believe it's around the Atlanta area. I actually haven't looked at the map to confirm that yet, but I'm pretty sure that's where it's at.
And what kind of advertising will you get out for people in the Atlanta area to come to the show?
Well, you know, the show promoters handle all that. You know, I contract with them to come in and do the performances, and you know, we can. I'll be doing a day and a night performance, as well as probably some media stuff for them leading up to the air show. But I'm sure they have radio spots and television and billboards and all that stuff.
And what's the name of it again?
I believe it's the Salute to Veterans Air Show.
Salute to Veterans. It's probably on the internet. Everything
Yes.
else seems to be.
Uh-huh.
So maybe they can go to the internet and take a look at it and find out when your show is.
Absolutely.
Will you be doing a night show up there also?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well,
So-
Matt, I've asked you a lot of questions. We've talked about a lot of things, but what did I not ask you that you'd like to talk about?
Well, I'd like to thank a few of my sponsors. I don't have a list in front of me, so don't be offended if I forget anybody. But you know, Tulsa Aircraft Engines really keeps our operation going. They take care of the engines on the Twin Beach, and their customer support is second to none as an overhaul shop. And Hardy Aviation Insurance, they obviously insure our airplane, and they can think outside of the box for all your insurance needs. Champion Aerospace, Goodyear Tires, Cleveland Wheels and Brakes, Parker Strataflex, Box 5 Media for our website, and obviously tonight, very important, Wheeling Aviation Lighting and LaPresti Boom Beam Lighting. So I encourage everybody to come out and watch the night show. It's going to be a beautiful evening for us.
I do too. Matt, thank you very much for being our guest today at the
thank you.
Florida Aviation Network and helping us to celebrate the 41st year of the Sun and Fun Fly-In and Exposition. And thank you for joining us at the Florida Aviation Network, and we'll see you on the next one.